Hello and welcome to Fresh Faced One Shots. My name is Joey.
And I'm Jacob.
And we are continuing today. I forgot how I'd continue these. Wonder Woman by Tom King. That's what we're doing. Today we're continuing Wonder Woman by Tom King. I know how to speak. What a fucking issue we have today.
Yeah, dear viewer, we're recording this on the same day as we're recording a regular podcast episode on Wonder Woman. So
it's we got a lot going on. A lot of Wonder Woman. And some very different Wonder Woman.
This one.
I love this.
Someone on Twitter called this run pretentious, and I kind of have to agree, but in a good way. Like,
interesting.
They were being negative, but I'm like, no. I think King is like, yeah, King's one.
King like knows what he's doing. Like he knows what he has. I think with this, yeah. Also, World's Finest is back, and I'm so happy about that.
I thought World's Finest was, I knew the Trinity backups were going to keep happening, but I thought they would do a different story.
I will not complain, though.
Yeah. Keeping the World's Finest is keeping the theme of we're doing some heavy stuff in the issues.
Let's have some fun in the backups.
Let's have some fun in the backups. Yeah, brief content warning. This one kind of has some domestic violence bits.
Oh yeah.
So be aware if you're reading that is a thing that happens.
But getting into it, we got a sort of a dreamscape thing throughout most of this. Envisioning Wonder Woman and Steve Trevor as like a 1950s suburban husband and wife.
And it just feels wrong. Like
totally.
Even if you don't read the dialogue, like,
it looks wrong.
Yeah. Which is just a testament once again to. Daniel Sampere, who is back on art for this issue.
So good.
Anthony Moray on colors, specifically really getting these 50s pastel look down in the colors.
Yeah. And also just Sampere's like line work, going for this like really clean, bubbly style in the dreamscape, and just this really gritty realism in the real world stuff. Fucking brutal.
I mean, it's pretty, but it's still stylized. It's not.
Yeah. I should say the brutality is realistic. Is what I should say.
Because this entire issue is, I mean, let's be honest. The story is let's torture Diana for 25 pages,
but have a wonderful message about it by the end. So first off. In the real world, this is not the black lasso. This is a gray lasso. It looks like.
Yeah, because there are 3 lassos, right? That we were introduced to.
Yeah.
And this is the other one. This is the other one, and I'm so with what? Okay. What King is going for here is he quotes the Bible quite a bit.
The Sovereign does. That is.
The Sovereign does. Yeah, and it's
first off, it gives me personally a different look at the Sovereign that I had not had in the issues before this, because they hadn't quite leaned into this sort of religious extremism before this.
What's interesting? It's interesting. I think what King is going for with this is clearly referencing a lot of Christian evangelical Christianity, which is, again, I think just with each passing issue, this run is going to be very America-centrist in terms of themes. And I think what King is trying to say with the Sovereign here, is trying to do stuff, specifically in this issue, about the use of Christianity, and in a way how the sort of radical, the rise in radical Christianity that the United States has undergone, because that is a thing that has happened. Usually it's called Christofascism. The people at the top don't really believe what they preach, and are very much cherry picking just the worst of the verses so they can get what they want. And the Bible's a very complex, religious text. And I think King's integration of it is he's being very careful.
Mhm.
I don't entirely know if it works entirely. I could see some people becoming offended at this, maybe. But I also think King is very much working in also trying to work in the framework of the DC universe, where gods exist, guys.
Mhm.
The Olympians exist.
Yeah.
Diana's a polytheist.
Yeah, and I think that also in using these religious texts in this particular context juxtaposes the Sovereign with Diana even more than he was before, which I find really interesting. There's some really horrid imagery, not just in bloody Diana tied to a pole with this lasso. There's the one big page of the Sovereign pouring wine over her head. Almost, I would say Jesus-like imagery in her head being down there.
It's specifically referencing the scourging at the pillar, and then this moment during the crucifixion of Roman soldiers offering this wine on a rag to Jesus. That's sort of what King is going for here. At least that's what I believe he's recalling, and Sampera's doing with the art, sort of melding these images. Partially because I think we're trying to set up Diana kind of as a redeemer, at least as a leader of leading people to a better place. Because one could read the story of Jesus almost in an ambassadorial light. Coming to the world of man to save people from their sins, which could be an interesting image and an interesting reading.
Mm-hmm. Throughout all this, I think one of the most unsettling things in these dreamscapes is not. First off, one of the most unsettling things is also that Steve Trevor is an abusive husband in it. It's fucking horrible. But also, one of the things that I found a bit more subtly unsettling is that as Diana acts normally for the setting she's in these dreamscapes, her thoughts at first are still fighting against the Sovereign and this indoctrination she's going through. And then as the dreamscapes go on, her thoughts become more and more the text that the Sovereign is quoting at her. Even her dreamscape self is becoming more and more submissive to what the Sovereign is putting her through, which I found really, really just unsettling. I love it.
Well, also, it flashes through time as well, the styling. By the end of it, Diana's in jeans and a t-shirt.
Mm-hmm.
In a modern kitchen. Again, I think King is trying to say things about. I think King's trying to say a lot. I don't entirely know if it's all coming through as clearly as he wants.
It is. It is important. This is part one of a new story arc. For this story. This is Sacrifice Part 1. So I think these themes are definitely going to continue throughout the rest of this particular arc, even if they're not entirely clear to us at this time.
I will say what makes this different from, say, the first issue is that this one there's a clear direction and things are clearly moving. Because there is, outside of this, King takes a couple of pages.
I love that the Wonder Girl scene.
Yeah, it's just this little interlude. It's so good. With the Wonder Girls.
Yep. It's Cassie is trying to shoot an apple off of Sergeant Steele's head, and she almost shoots him in the dick at one point. It's a funny scene. It's really good. I love the whole thing about his height. She's blindfolded as she's gonna shoot the apple. She's like, how tall are you? He's like, I'm 6'1". Shit, okay, 5'11". And it's a funny little detail.
It's very much a comment on sort of this blustering performance of masculinity of a man making himself seem taller.
Yeah, which is definitely a common theme through pretty much all the villains King has used, aside from some of the more iconic Wonder Woman villains. But even then, Dr. Psycho is there. So yeah, it's just a really interesting thing, I think. But then Diana also begins to break through the conditioning in the dreamscape. The Sovereign puts on his crown, and in all this, one of the most interesting and what I can easily see being one of the most controversial bits of this particular issue Hippolyta shows up in the Dreamscape, and the Dreamscape version of Hippolyta puts down Diana, but in a way that Diana is able to use towards her own strength, which I found really interesting. And obviously, this is a reflection of like what Tom King thinks of Hippolyta as a character or anything. But I could see people. That way.
It's also, I think a lot of this is being read in Diana's mind mostly. There's a little sort of the last page of this story, right? Where you have the two little panels with Steve makes me question, wait, is Steve experiencing this too, or is this just meant to be?
That's very possible, because Steve was also incapacitated at the start of issue 6.
Yeah, so I'm
maybe.
I'm wondering, just because I don't. Yeah, I mean, obviously you're supposed to having some of the influence of the lasso, and the ending is very much Wonder Woman breaking free.
It's so good. The lightning image there, I fucking love that. The line, "Your toy broke, Your Majesty. Do you have another?" Fucking amazing. Love it. Love seeing it.
Again, very interesting to see where this goes. I have a feeling we'll probably get more of the Wonder Girls next time.
Oh, almost definitely. Yeah. I'll be very curious to see what they do with that. But we do also have the backup story. We have World's Finest Part 5, which I really love. Damian Wayne let Lizzie time travel, and it didn't go well because of course it didn't. And there are just some really fucking hilarious gags as Lizzie is trying to learn to become a samurai.
Well, she has a report for school on samurai, and so it's like, okay. We see this flashes while John and Damian basically bicker like an old married couple, like
as they always do. And as this is happening, Lizzie being in the past is like fucking with time. So we see them in like Golden Age, like Superman and Robin costumes.
Yeah, when I first got to that panel, because I was reading on guided mode, so I didn't see like the full page. I was like, is that a mistake? Oh wait, no, we're doing the butterfly effect.
Yep. So they're like cowboys, they're apes, they're fucking robots. I love it. There's a fucking panel where Damian is dressed like Joaquin Phoenix's Joker. It's so good. I love it. Oh my god. Then with like starro fishes on their faces, and
one where they're really old.
Yeah, one where they're women, and Lizzie is apparently a man. I love it. It's so good. Yeah, just amazing. So, and then they turn into birds as Lizzie is coming back, and time reverts to normal, and she's a samurai, and that is the end. It's so good.
These backups are just a nice little piece of fluff to have. I
love them, and also I think they're doing a lot of great character work for Lizzie. I feel like I'm really getting to know a lot about who she is through these, even if they are just fun little character pieces. I mean, all you need is just an 8-page character piece to get me to like a character again and again and again, but it's great, it's fun, and I really love it. So all right, I think that about does it.
I think that does it.
Be sure to check out other Fresh Face one-shots that we do. We've been covering Superman by Joshua Williamson, currently in a big crossover event with Action Comics at the moment, House of Brainiac. We're also covering Batman the Brave and the Bold by Various. Bit weird in structure right now. I'm not sure what they're doing with that anthology, but it's still good. I'm enjoying it a lot. Otherwise, check out the main podcast, Fresh Face Comics. I have links for all that in the description below, as well as our socials. Our link trees will be down there as well. And I think that's it. So thank you all so much for watching. Until next time, this has been Joey Morgan
and Jacob Licklider.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.